Here. All right. So, hello, everyone. I'm Justine Arian. I'm founder of the Multi-Passionate Moms Club, Women's Empowerment Coach, and starter of Finding Me, Impacting We. And so, I am super excited to be here today interviewing my friend, Laura Jane, yoga therapist extraordinaire and author of multiple books. And you're writing a book right now, as I understand, that we're going to be talking about. And Laura Jane just is super amazing. Laura, she has so many tools in her tool belt, and she's really taken, different modalities of yoga therapy, mindfulness, psychology, her background in psychology, and she's really kind of melded it all together to create some mind tools, body tools, powerful tools for awareness, for living your best life, for feeling your best in your body. And I'm super excited to have her joining us at the Finding Me, Impacting Me Mother-Daughter 2-Day Retreat in October, where she will be leading us in these mindfulness practices. So this interview series is twofold. One is really to give you a glimpse of what we're going to be doing at the Mother-Daughter Retreat on October 13th and 14th. And so today we kick it off with Laura Jane, and then I'll be interviewing 3 other women, also amazing, over the next 3 days, on Thursday, the 27th. So today we're going to be spending about 30 minutes together. And first of all, let me just say welcome, Laura Jane, and thank you for being here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so honored to be here with you, my OG life coach. Good friend, and you're still always such a mentor of mine, so thank you. So excited to co-create with you.
Thank you. And Laura Jane actually was with me in the very first Finding Me, Impacting Me, which was a 1-day women's empowerment event. And it was really awesome. And we did it for a few years. We had several of us that came together to co-facilitate and lead this amazing day of women's empowerment. And then we didn't do it for a couple of years, I think. And then it's kind of evolved into this 2-day mom-daughter retreat concept where we could really go deeper with the concepts, right? Like I really wanted this to be something where we go deep. It's not just scratch the surface. It's not just to kind of feel good and then go back to your life kind of thing, but it's really like getting tools and integrating and really going deep and self-awareness and reflection and sisterhood and, all of that coming together to really transform lives. That's what this is about. This is about transforming lives. And I know that the women I brought together are going to make that happen. It's going to happen. It's going to be magical. So I'm so glad you're part of it still, as it's evolved into its iteration today. So let's talk about, and I'm actually not going to do a formal bio right now because they can read your formal bio on the page, and we'll send you all there to the page to read that. But you'll see in talking to Laura Jane and hearing what she has to say, how awesome she is. So let's just start with, first of all, let's get a common definition of what mindfulness is, right? Mm-hmm. So let's assume that we've all heard of it, but we're not clear on exactly what mindfulness tools or practices are. So let's just get a working definition for the purposes of this interview.
Yes, and I'm so glad you asked. And this is actually kind of new for me to be answering that question, because actually for a little while I didn't like that word mindfulness, because one of my favorite scholar yogis would throw out the idea like, do we want a mind that's full? And maybe mindfulness isn't what we're going for. But recently, with people talking about it again, I looked into what does this word mindfulness mean, and studying teachers and such. So I love the most simple definition is it's really just paying attention in a particular way on purpose. And then really the common thread is bringing in this non-judgment, which is actually a big level of the therapy with all these practices, anything that helps us get in that place more with ourselves and our moments and our relationships. But really, it's just that. It's so simple. And then I love the even deeper idea that it's really the opposite of taking life for granted, which I love that feeling and awareness, especially as a mom, right? Or as someone thinking about family life and wanting to really appreciate here and now, right? And be our best in our moments with our loved ones. So the mindfulness idea and the tools, and they're also so simple that it's about just really turning any activity into that you can do that, let anything be a practice of mindfulness. So it's as simple as it gets, really, even though it's so radical and different for a lot of us.
So I know, my word this year, one of my words is simplicity, right? And I'm all about like, let's just simplify it. I mean, I tend to overcomplicate everything and I'm tired of doing that. And so I love what you're saying in terms of not taking life for granted. And it's the small things, it's the little everyday moments, it's the simple things that can really fill us up, right? That can really bring us joy and that can really have us in appreciation, in gratitude. And as we know, gratitude makes us feel better. We're happier. We're actually more successful, more expanded, when we're in this gratitude state of mind and being. And the other thing you said that I love is the non-judgmental part, because oh my goodness, right? Like we are so hard on ourselves. We are so hard on ourselves. And I know this personally. I mean, I've been one of my own biggest critics, and I've had to learn how to not be as judgmental, to not be so critical, and just to give grace, right? Like give myself grace, give other people grace, because, when we're hard on ourselves and we're hard on our kids and we're hard on other people in our lives, our spouse or our partners, right? And so, and so how do we begin to cultivate that self-acceptance and the mindfulness that brings us into the present moment where judgment doesn't exist, right? Where we can bring so much love in that it like outshadows the judgment and all that other critical stuff, right? So I really love this conversation.
Yeah. And it's, again, it's so simple, yet so radical and so helpful. And especially in these realms of like mind and mood and mental health, which I've become even more interested in sharing about how these practices can help with that for young people and adults, right? And that's what's so exciting about us bringing this to the daughters and the mothers with this retreat, because we also do hear about how so many young people are really struggling with these realms, right? With their moods and their sense of mind and even their mental health, right? And so it's serious and it's felt and it's impacting our lives. But these things like non-judgment are such a piece, I see, to shifting that inner experience with ourselves, right? And like you started to hint at, our relationship with ourselves and the judging we're doing with ourselves is always going to extend into the people we love, right? So like what I think Brene Brown has really brought this awareness that we can't love anyone more than we can even love ourselves, which is almost like a scary thing for me to hear, right? When we look at how often we're doing the opposite of that self-love, right? And then I love that we could see that the next step with the non-judgment could be like self-love, like what's even better than just not judging what we're noticing or seeing or experiencing, but also actually moving into more like self-love about it.
Yes. I think, for me, I talk about like self-acceptance as being like the ultimate self-love, because it's like, we accept ourselves as we are and as we are not, right? And so that's where that judgment, letting go of that self-judgment comes in, because it's like, I'm not perfect, and I have flaws, and we all do, right? And so when we realize we're human beings with flaws and we're perfectly imperfect exactly as we are, and when we can say, I don't love that about myself necessarily, but it's part of who I am in this moment, right? It doesn't define me, and it can change, but in the moment, that's part of my, being, right? So I'm just going to accept that about myself, that I'm not perfect and that I don't love that thing about me. But when I get into that place of total self-acceptance of all that I am and all that I'm not, And to me, that's the ultimate self-love, right? Like that's like, I can love myself exactly as I am in all my imperfections.
Right, right. And then I love to see that all of these practices kind of give us a symbolic chance to drop back into that non-judgment, and that we can see that anything we're doing, whether we call it mindfulness or meditation or yoga, which really means anything that connects us, right? Part of it is going to be slipping back into that non-judgment with what we're noticing, as a even place to start with improving how we feel, right? The non-judgment's a step of it, and just a piece. It invites us to keep getting back into that. It's like the psychology of the practices is how I like.
Yes, I love that. And I love that about bringing this in for the young people, because we're seeing it rampant with our young people in terms of how disconnected they feel, and how, you know, with technology, it's like the blessing and the curse, right? I mean, we're in some ways more connected through technology, and in other ways less connected, right? Yeah. And so it's like, you know, young people aren't learning connection tools or skills, or how to like, or present, right? Like how to be present. And so I think the work you're doing is so critical and so important, especially now for our young people and us. Like, I'm not going to lie. I mean, you know, I don't feel like I have an addictive personality, but if I'm being truthful, am I constantly checking my phone for my Facebook, my email, my, you know, like all my updates, you know, I'm constantly checking my communication, and that is an obsession, you know, that's like an addiction. And it's hard for me to really like admit that, you know, and for example, am I showing my children when I'm constantly checking my phone, right? And so I'm trying to be more mindful about that, and, you know, and connect with them more in their presence rather than, you know, constantly on my phone. So please share with us some mindfulness, you know, tips, techniques, some things that we can do to be more present, to release judgment. You know, you talked about yoga, and I love how you define yoga, because a lot of people think about yoga and they think it's just this stretching and pose practice thing that you do, but you talk about yoga as unity and connectedness, right? Like it's like this connection. And so more about that. And then tell us how we can bring yoga practices and meditation practices and other tools in to connect us more to ourselves, to others, to lift up our joy. Like that, you're such a perfect example of being really connected and joyful, and you know, you just have this great energy about you, and I believe it's because you use all the tools that you teach.
Well, thank you. And I do have that hashtag that's probably almost kind of annoying, that it's the yoga, but it is fun to see how much well, really, that all these practices that we call yoga are really just about connection, and how much really better we feel and flow when we feel more connected. And then we really get to define what we mean by that. So it could mean when we feel just more connected to ourselves, who we really are, who we want to be, how we want to be showing up in the world, when we're more connected to our truth, our heart, our soul, our spirituality. But that's what these practices are really, I can see more and more, supposed to be about. And also that it's very personal what does connect us. So that's where you can also really decide what is yoga for you, what does connect you, what reconnects you, and then creating more of a lifestyle. It's more about connection, knowing that maybe the more connected you feel, again, with your heart, your soul, your truth, your most aligned self, the more aligned you're going to feel in every way in your life, in your health, in your relationships, in your creations. So to start to see that we can build a life that's more about connection. And as you know, I'm all about helping people, encouraging people to absolutely bring it home and make it about what you're doing each day to tune yourself, meaning like tune in to how you're doing, like we do with these simple things that are just about paying attention in a different way on purpose with that non-judgment. So we get to tune in so much more to how we are actually doing, what is happening for us. And then we get to learn to honor that more and work with that, and then thankfully change that too, which I love. And part of the philosophy of yoga that's really helped me, and I love to share this with the young people, is remembering that it's all energy. So when we start to see that we're also tuning ourselves energetically with all of these practices, even with the mental shifts and the use of our attention and our focus, which is a lot of what these practices are supposed to be about, that we can really play a role in how we're feeling, in the momentum of that. It's all energy, and that we can really shift and change that. But always from that place of honoring and self-love and working with what's true, that is part of the therapy. So yeah.
I love just let me interject here for a second. Because, you know, when you talk about that yoga is really all energy, and that it's, you know, which has to do with really how we're feeling. And when you look at it that way, it's really empowering to know, like, we can change our energy. We can change our thoughts, our moods, our feelings, our energy. And, you know, and so I think for like, it's just having that awareness of knowing that we can do that. Like, we're in control of that, right? Like, that's empowering.
Yeah.
But like, so how, right? The next question is like, okay, so I'm in control, but I'm really not. Like, I'm not feeling in control.
Right.
So what are some tools or some tips or ways to begin to get shift?
Yeah. And that's where it can be in the most simple, basic ways. It can be in traditional forms from yoga, in things like just sitting and listening within, and what might look more like almost formal meditation, right? Just a chance to even tune into how we're doing and take a look at it with that non-judgment. The simplest things, like, you know, just encouraging ourselves to relax more, that we always get from yoga, which affects our energy a lot. And we can do in the simplest ways, like just relaxing the face and jaw really changes the physiology. So we can play with the physiology a lot as a way to change how we feel from the inside out. But then other tools that we can see are part of yoga are things like journaling, totally a form of yoga and meditation, great practice of mindfulness, taking it to the page, taking time to, again, just tune in more to how we're feeling, how we're doing, bringing in that non-judgment. And then we also get a place and a way to change how we're feeling, and we can bring in things like gratitude lists and really shift our focus and momentum like that, which is also powerful and even vibrational, right? And then, of course, uses of even the simplest of the exercises, we get to do almost like a multitask of the practices, that it's a form of meditation. So we're tuning in, noticing how we're doing, but then we also get to make these energetic changes with even the simplest of a pose or exercise that's appropriate for our body. Really let stuff go. You know, we know now that we are holding a lot of trauma, a lot of us, in our bodies. The new awareness in the yoga community and the emotional healing community, right? That we've probably, a lot of us are holding on to a lot of trauma and stuck energy, we could even see it as. So it gives us a chance to use these tools to free up stuck energy, let go of other people's energy that we're probably always picking up. I think that's important, to turn our young people onto that awareness, that we probably do pick up other people's energy, and not in a way to make us fearful, but to know that, you know, we can be tuning ourselves and even getting ourselves as aligned as we can to go into the room, so that it's more like our energy benefits others versus we're really feeling like bogged down with others' energy. So yeah, like you said, that word empowerment, that's why I love to share it, because I feel like it helps us feel a lot more powerful within it all.
And I love, like tomorrow in the interview with Shannon, she's going to be talking about, you know, tips for managing your energy, like for highly sensitive people, or when, you know, just other people's energy comes onto you, like how do you protect your energy, right? So this is so aligned with what she's doing. It's exciting. So, okay, so just to kind of recap a little bit, some of the tips and you know, tools that you've shared is really like sitting in meditation, which can also just mean like tuning in, right? Like just tuning in. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? And listening within to what's going on. And also releasing judgment, like practicing releasing judgment around any of what's coming up, right? Around any thoughts or any feelings. then you talked about, you know, sort of the physiology stuff, and you talked about relaxing your face and jaw, just kind of like tuning into your body and kind of physically like releasing and relaxing more, right? There's the journaling, which one of the things that you said was about gratitude, right? And I love that as a practice for people who are like, I don't know how to journal, or what should I write about, or, you know, how do you do it right, you know? And so it's like, if you don't know how to journal, or if you're not in a regular practice of it and you want to start somewhere, you could just start with doing a gratitude journal, right? And just saying, you know, what are you grateful for each day? Just listing a few things. And I like to even go deeper than just listing, right? Because I like to say, you know, I'm grateful for this because it kind of like goes underneath the underlying meaning, the heart of it, right? It's like, oh, that's where the oomph is for me, rather than just like listing off, you know, rattling off a list, right? So, okay. And then I know that you teach like breath work and all of that. So what I'm going to ask you is, I'd love to have you lead us right now in it could be a breath work piece. It could be meditation. It could be whatever you want. It could be even a yoga move or a stretch or whatever comes to you. I'd love us to do a mindfulness practice right now together in the next.
How many minutes did you say?
Oh, I don't know. I said in the next minute, but let's have it be, you know, fairly short in case people have to go. We have about, you know, 6 minutes remaining on the clock. So let's just see what we can do.
Yeah. Which, that's what's so fun, is to show how you can turn any moment into a moment, yoga or meditation or mindfulness, really, and they're all so interweaved and even the same, right? So how about whatever position we're in, let's start by just getting more comfortable. And many traditions teach it's nice to have a more aligned feeling spine for energy flow, however you can set that up. And then keep making it about being comfortable. And feel free to close your eyes as a really nice tool to be willing to add in to right away start to tune in more inward, which is part of what's going to make this moment become more different, right? And then, yes, becoming aware that we do have a body, because so many of us cruising around not really connected to our bodies. Me too. So part of the big news is just reconnecting with the body. So even just bringing our attention into the body. And yeah, that probably includes starting to notice how we're feeling as we're getting in here. And let's bring in that non-judgment as we start to notice how the body is feeling as we are sitting here. And that non-judgment really means just not trying to decide if it's good or bad or right or wrong, right? Just simply what is, where we're starting from. And helpful to check out energy-wise how we're feeling. And really, I like to start any practice like this with checking in, like baseline. So just notice how your energy does feel as we get started from that non-judgment. And we could already be starting to add some more relaxed qualities, which helps. So let's add that softening of the face and relaxing of the jaw, which acts like a domino effect on the nervous system every time we do that. And start to experiment with just relaxing the body more, just trying out what you can soften and let become more relaxed. And the parts of you that aren't relaxing as much, just noticing that, right? And that's where we can use some of those poses and things to keep freeing up some of that tension and tightness. And that's, we do get to become more of a listener, watcher with the mind during all of these practices. So sure, becoming more aware of thoughts that are rolling through, what is on our mind, what is on our heart today. And that's part of the therapy, to listen to that along the way, not just shut it up, but from that non-judgment, right? And let's add a little awareness of breath, and maybe starting to let the breath get a little more belly shaped, like we were born breathing. So a little bit slower, longer, filling up your belly, bringing in that fresh oxygen, that fresh energy, See that, feel that, that helps. See and feel that energy, that oxygen. And then start to let your exhale get slower and longer. And a little more complete. Feel how it's the exhale that relaxes us. Just starting to let your breath become more slow and long, more into the belly. And a lot slower and longer with those exhales. Those exhales are what relax us, decompress us. And then even bringing in imagination. Do picture and see what that breath is doing for you. It is energy medicine. It is cleaning you out, clearing you out energy-wise. And seeing that and feeling that makes it work better, like placebo effect. So add that with your next breath. Just see and feel how that breath is bringing in that fresh energy, that fresh oxygen to all your cells. Doing that house cleaning energy-wise. And then as you exhale, let some more stuff go. Do some more relaxing. Soften even more. And listening more is a great tool. Get into sounds more. Feel sensations more. And just becoming more present like this is therapy for a lot of us. More in the body, more in the moment. Thankfully, generally just feels better. And more relaxed, right? Even adding a little bit of a smile on the lips, we know that boosts serotonin to the brain. Simple medicine. And then all of this we get to carry into the rest of the day, right? This more listening, feeling mode, this even better use of the breath into the belly, the exhales, more relaxed approach. And then lastly, I'll just mention that we definitely get to play with quieting the mind, right? With all these practices, which is hugely therapeutic, helpful. And I'm into like 2 to 5 seconds of quiet. So could you try just a little windshield wipe your mind to quiet it, clear it, like a refresh? Or just listening a lot more to get into some moments of quiet. Just a few moments is a big deal to clear the slate, change the momentum, and start to reconnect more. And then how about towards the last tools that I'll mention? There's so many tools, so fun. The mudras are awesome. How about we bring in that classic prayer mudra where you put your hands together, almost looking like a prayer pose, right in front of your heart-like center. And these mudras are energy work too, right? They're an anchor, their intention, their focus, they're harnessing our energy. Just see about relaxing into that, breathing into that. Exhaling more stuff out. And then even adding power of words, like in your mind or out loud, like, I am filled with love. Or even directing it to ourselves, right? Like, I love you, Laura Jane, to yourself. Powerful stuff. And that thank you, just saying thank you, feeling thank you, bringing to mind what we're thankful for. Huge energy shifts, right? Awesome. And then how about we even close up this little practice with that word and the bow, namaste, which is about the light in me, the love in me is bowing to that in you. So a little namaste, namaste. Okay. And then just open your eyes and notice how you feel.
Good. Yeah, I feel so much nicer. See how quickly we can shift our food and how we feel in our bodies. And I mean, that was about 7 minutes, I think. So that was, yeah, great. How's everybody feeling? You can just tap into the chat here. Anybody that wants to share kind of what your how that was for you. We're going to be wrapping up here soon, but we'd love to hear what, did you do it? How do you feel? Was there any judgment that came up? And that's okay if there was. That's okay. Like I felt myself a few times going, ooh, you know, I wonder if people are watching me for guidance, even though Laura Jane's the teacher here, but I'm on the screen too, you know, and I noticed that, and I had to just like release that and sink back into the moment. Right. So, okay, so let's check the chat here, and actually let me put my glasses on. Okay. So Tiffany says she loves the imagery of the windshield wiping the mind. I know, that was awesome. And Kathy says, thank you, Laura Jane. And Tiffany says, and the idea of even a moment of mindfulness is a win. Thank you for sharing. And Eli says, thank you for the group exercise. Great way to embrace Monday morning. Yes, yes. Yes, it is. Awesome. Thank you all for sharing. Okay, so let's wrap this up. It's all about presence. Yes, yes. Presence and practice, right, Kathy? Yes.
That's the truth, right?
Yes.
And it's just amazing how it's so radical to be present these days. But it's just so different than the way a lot of us are being, that it's just, now it's like medicine to kind of be how we were born to be. And that's what's kind of hilarious about it, right?
Right.
Just actually be in the moment, just actually enjoying it, right? It's like back to that.
Returning back to our natural state.
You know, I think our kids know that, and that's why maybe when they become teens, it can be challenging because suddenly they're starting to lose that maybe potentially. So we can help them reconnect with that sooner than later, and that's exciting.
What a gift. What a gift. You know, just returning us back to our natural state, right? It's such, it's like, we know how to do this, you guys.
It's a huge tool. Yeah, and I just want to mention, I know we're wrapping up, but I'm super excited that my daughter is planning to come and help present with me. She's 17 now, and she started to journal and meditate and use some of these practices because of her own life. So I'm super excited to have her with me at the retreat.
Hey, yeah, I mean, we have girls registered that are 14, 15, 16, 17, up to 25 years old. And so it's going to be awesome. And I'm so excited that you're bringing these practices to the girls and the women who are going to be at the retreat. We're going to go deeper. We're going to have 2 full days together. Can you imagine, like in 6 minutes, what we did and you know, what we get to do together in full days?
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And there's nothing I'd rather be doing. And this content just feels so important. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. I love co-creating with you. And tomorrow in the interview series, we'll be interviewing Shannon Nimzer, who's an MSW, and she specializes in working with highly sensitive people, and adults, and we'll be talking about protecting your energy, and also going to talk about how to communicate with your team, right? So that's we all could benefit from that, right? Even the best of moms and dads too, right? So so join us tomorrow. That'll be at 9:15 tomorrow. So tune in at 9:15, same link that you used or number that you dialed in today. It'll be the same one at 9:15 tomorrow, and we'll post that in the Facebook event page. Invite your friends. If you enjoyed this today, invite your friends to join us tomorrow. We have 3 more days of awesome, amazing interviews with women as amazing as Laura Jane, if that's possible. each in our own.
All of us on the call, right? This is all just about helping us all tap into our amazingness, right?
Yes. And and for more info on the retreat, if that's something you're interested in, you can go to findingmeimpactingme.com. Right now it's $100 off the price of the retreat. So we'd love to have you if this is something that is interesting to you. Okay, so let's wrap it up. You all have an amazing rest of your day. Laura Jane, thank you so much for being here and presencing us with your beauty inside. Your hair looks beautiful, by the way.
Oh, thank you. And thank you so much, Justine. So glad to do this. So excited.
Yay. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.